Let's draw a train, got a favorite railroad, got a favorite locomotive, just let me know. Let's draw a train, get your pencils and pens. Let's draw a train, it's time to begin. So one cab we're going to start off with is an Illinois Central cab in the orange and white era. And as I've said in videos, when I draw my trains, SD40s, and which we're doing here today, are right at 1.5 inches from the frame to the roof. And the cab itself I make be just over 1 inch. Get my hand out of the way. And so it's just a little bit over 1 inch. And then the nose is a little bit more. It's about 1 inch and almost 1/8. And the height of the nose is right at about 1 inch. Don't really want to bog you down with a lot of measurements, but very quickly you can sort of see that what we're doing is basically just putting two kind of rectangular boxes next to each other. There's the cab and there's the nose. Then if you put this little small box up here, this is where the number board goes. And right here is where you kind of start to put details in. And one thing that I like to say is don't be afraid to erase a lot, because I can kind of sort of see I made maybe the nose be a little too high. Kind of want a little more space for the cab window. And then what you kind of start doing is you make these boxes, and then one box after a time, at a time, you kind of just start to add one detail after another after another. Like, see, here's another line. This is sort of the slant and slope of the nose there. And then basically start to kind of add that was about 1/4 inch. And this is a little bit more than 1/4 inch. This is the step with the battery box. And this is ultimately going to have handrails on it. And if you want to add these lines right now, you can add, there's one more line there and one more line below it. And basically those are the hinges, because you can add these, there's 3 little latches right here. And what I do here is where I put the slope of the roof. I put one line there, and then I just put this little partial line right here, because a sun visor on almost all railroads, there's either sun visors, kind of by about the 1970s, there's sun visors. A little earlier in the 60s, there's usually a cloth visor. And so usually there's some visor that kind of covers part of the window. And the window go 1/4 inch there, and a little bit less than 1/2 inch. Now I'm giving you a lot of numbers here, but just kind of, and see, it's more the concept of this. You don't have to really hugely memorize all these numbers, because as long as they're fairly close, because mainly what I'm trying to get across is you draw this box, you draw that box, and then as you can kind of see, you draw a line here, you draw a line there. And as long as they're at all close, you start drawing that line, you draw that line, you draw this line, you draw that line. And next thing you know, because I said this once at a show, as I was doing a drawing demonstration, does it look like a train? Does it look like... And see, all of a sudden, all these lines together start really looking like the cab. And see, like this little part of a box of a window, all of a sudden we're going to put, instead of drawing it all the way to the top, a little ways down. And see, a little ways down, it's just, you know, it's, I don't know, it's not quite a quarter of an inch, but... And see, visors even, sometimes they're all the way down and sometimes they're folded up. So it doesn't have to be terribly precise. And see these sloped lines here. If you've seen these visors a lot, next thing you know, there's the visor. And see, it's really starting to look like the cab of an engine. And almost all railroads, Illinois Central has it on the front, have these mirrors. There's a mirror. And then one little tiny line here. That's the armrest. And why we're just doing a cab, it's good practice. And then basically these two little lines are where the windows open and close. It's sort of the edge of the window. And this is about 1/2 of an inch, so right in the middle. See, that's basically the where the windows you can pull, and the window would slide open and slide closed. And basically, locomotives all over them have little doors. Here's another one right here. And see, every time you add one more detail, basically starting to look more and more like a locomotive. Put this latch here. And then there's what they would call the louvre, which is where air breathes in and out of the box, so it stays cooler. Illinois Central, obviously going from Chicago down to Memphis, New Orleans, lots of these railroads, the air needs to breathe in and out. And then here's the hatch and a grab iron. Oops, overdrew it. See, you overdraw something, you erase it. And we can put the number board in. And Illinois Central, like lots of railroads, a big part of it is if you look at a picture of them all, Illinois Central had the lights in the nose. And see, the moment you even start looking at a picture and you start to put the light in the nose, people go, whoa, you were looking model. See, it's the same as modeling a train. It's like, whoa, Illinois Central, you put the models in the nose. And if you give me a second, I'm going to get my orange pen. And